Well, the weekend has come to an end, but that doesn't mean we have to end things here on the Deleted Wrestle Zone. So, for today, we're going to be reviewing two events. The first one is from TNA Rebellion. As you know, we have most of the titles defended: the Knockouts World title, Tag Team title, the X Division, and the TNA World title in a couple of special matches as well. Then we move on, of course, with AEW Dynasty. We will see, of course, the crowning of brand new tag champions, the Continental Championship defended, the TBS, and various other matches. But also, the obvious question is, will Swerve Strickland finally fulfill his destiny to become AEW World Champion, or will Samoa Joe continue to reign supreme? We'll just have to find out. And then, of course, we cap it up with some news updates to give you guys updates what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, and various other developments as well. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that it's pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics, like, of course, the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed on ASAP. And then, of course, we have the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things on this channel as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and various cool wrestling content on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions are set aside. I believe it's time, of course, to get this show on the road and our very first review, and that is TNA Rebellion. Okay, TNA Rebellion, as you know, took place in Las Vegas, Nevada. This was on the 20th of course, of April, a Saturday. It opened up with DJ Ashba. If you guys are unfamiliar with him, he is a guitarist who's known with Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue as 6 a.m. And of course, he has done various tours with none other than Guns N' Roses. He is a great guitar player, you know, anybody ask, but I've seen him many times. So he actually opened up performing the national anthem. I thought it was pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. So, you know, it was really cool. Now, let's begin with our very first match, and this is for the TNA X Division title. This is between Jake Something and the champion, Mustafa Ali. Now, ever since this match was set, Mustafa Ali has been very adamant about having a guy like Jake Something. He believes that the X Division should have a weight limit restriction, but however, there is no weight limit in this one. There's a reason why they call it a championship without limits. I mean, he feels like, you know, that's the thing of the past, but this is about the future. But Jake Something cannot be ignored, no matter what, of course, Mustafa Ali would do. Of course, you probably would think that Mustafa Ali would have murdered him, but however, that those knuckleheads of security of Mustafa Ali got involved. But however, um, this allowed for, of course, Mustafa Ali to pick up a win when he applied the 450, and then of course he used the ring ropes to pin him in order to walk away with the win. And of course, this is highway robbery. Sooner or later, Mustafa Ali's luck is going to run out. Now, our next match, we have Rich Swann versus Joe Hendry. Now, ever since Rich Swann turned his back on Joe Hendry due to the fact that he was pissed with him for what he caused, he feels that aligning himself with AJ Francis had made him a lot better. However, of course, you would think that Joe Hendry would have found a way to change things, but of course, AJ Francis have friends in high places, especially a guy from the NFL, the Shawnee, what's his name? Merriman, who decided, to get in the face of AJ Francis, but it was all a trick in order to whack out Joe Hendry, allowing for, of course, Swann to pin Hendry just like that to win. I'm sure Hendry will get his revenge on him somehow, but that's for another time. Now, our next match, we have a full metal jacket match between Frankie Kazarian and Eric Young, two wrestlers who've been part of the original lineup for many years. Basically, Frankie, who had enough of this crap that he's been getting himself into, turned his back on Eric Young. This match went all hell to the balls, using all kinds of weapons. But the one thing that was very concerning is when, of course, Frankie Kazarian did the flux capacitor onto Eric Young on the chair, and just like that, he hit his head. Now, we don't know the extent of the injury, but this allowed for Frankie Kazarian to pick up the win. So hopefully Eric Young will be fine, but nonetheless, Frankie Kazarian pick up the win. Now, he was not scheduled to be in on Rebellion, but however, he decided to get himself involved, and he said that he signed a new contract and all this other stuff. However, Santino Marella thought that we could have discussed this in the back, but you decided to make a statement. But that did not stop Santino Marella, because he thought, okay, since he told him, I even signed a brand new signee, and that signee is none other than former 4-time TNA Tag Team Champion, Mike Santana. Yes, it was interesting. There were talks about TNA bringing Mike Santana back, and I think this is a good way for him, because many people will just associate himself with the whole tag team thing, and I think this is a good way to now step out of that domain and move on to something bigger. So he faced Steve Maclin. So I thought this match was pretty good, even for a guy like him who should be recognized as a wrestler who does things on his own. But I was so impressed. It was, of course, I'm not sure what Mike Santana used. I'm sure Mike Maclin would have used every tool in his arsenal to put him away, but it didn't do any effect. But I think it was a discus lariat that put Maclin away, allowing for Mike Santana to pick up his very first singles match. So hopefully we'll see more of him, what he can do, and I'm sure many of you will be happy about it. Now, our next match is a title match. We have the TNA World Tag Team titles. We do have Speedball Mountain, Trent Seven and Mike Bailey taking on The System, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers, along with that main squeeze of Eddie Edwards' wife, Alicia, being there. I thought this match was pretty good. I think many people probably wanted to see Speedball Mountain pick up the win and walk away with the tag belts. But of course, there are moments we'll see Alicia gets involved. But however, the cohesion between Myers and Edwards have not been, have been very cohesive at some points, with the combination of the roster cut and the Boston Knee Party, allowing them to retain the belts. So the only question is, who will be the team to remove them? Well, we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match is a last man standing match between Josh Alexander and Alex Hammerstone. Now, don't forget, this whole thing began when Hammerstone first appeared in Hard to Kill all of a sudden we did see Josh Alexander pick up the win. However, when Hammerstone requested a rematch, he obliged to it, but Hammerstone decided to cheat his way through by winning that match on sacrifice. But he decided that he wanted this match between his third encounter with Alexander in Rebellion. But later on, we did hear that Alexander said he wants this match to be a last man standing. Now, this is not a match where you put a submission or a pinfall. They have to stay down at the count of 10. And you know that they would do everything. I mean, Alexander did the ankle lock in order to hope to weaken his ankle in order to keep them down. I mean, they did everything, but however, in the end, it was, of course, Alexander who reigned supreme, walked away with the win, and regained his property, and just like that, it was completely over. Give me a second. Now, our next match, this is for the TNA Knockouts World Title. Now, before the match started, Ash by Elegance and that stupid stooge, the Castellano, whatever his ugly name is, were watching. I'm sure they're not happy with the result, the fact that this should have been her match. Well, she's the one who decided not to be participating in that 8-4-1 match. That's her own damn fault. But anyway, we had Steph DeLanders versus, of course, Jordan Grace. But Steph DeLanders did had backup. And those two good-for-nothing morons were right there. I'm talking about the good hands, Jason Hodge and John Schuyler. Yeah, of course, they have no business. And of course, these morons were going to get involved. But, of course, they did when the referee was knocked out. And then, of course, when Steph DeLander took out Jordan Grace, Jason Hodge wears the referee shirt in hopes that this match wins by default to Steph DeLanders. But the lights went out. PCO showed up and took out those morons. Now, of course, we thought things were going to go well. Khan showed up out of the blue. And then, of course, we did see, of course, Grace got onto Khan's face. And then she hit him in the juggernauts. It was what Matthew Renwall said. He called it the juggernauts. But, of course, things went out of hand when Steph DeLanders got involved. Then, of course, Khan was about to snap her neck. The lights goes out. We didn't expect that until he showed up again. The Death Machine returned. Sami Callihan did some business, took care of matters in those hands, and then, of course, Steph DeLanders tried to run away like a coward, but luckily Sami tossed her back and allowing for Jordan Grace to pick up the win and applying the Juggernaut driver, and just like that, it was over. However, she complains and, pardon my language, bitches like Matt Cardona, calling this the Las Vegas screw job. I mean, he's been saying this. They're saying the screw jobs everywhere, like if it was in New York or Miami or Tampa, whatever. So what? I mean, they're the ones who screwed themselves for this. But yes. Now, before our main event, we did see that they announced the return of Slammiversary that will take place in July. I'm looking forward to it. Now, those who aren't familiarized with this show, Slammiversary is like their version of WrestleMania, one of their biggest events of the year. So we will be paying attention to that. Now, let's jump into our main event, which is the TNA World Title, the Most Wanted Nick Bennett versus Moose. I have to say, this was one of the best matches I've ever watched. I mean, Nick Bennett countered every powerbomb, every move that Moose was about to do, especially the spear. He knows how deadly the spear can be for him. Not to mention, they try to take each other outside of the ring. But unfortunately, the body can take so much until Moose finally picked up the win with the spear, 1, 2, 3, and retained the titles. But here comes, of course, the system to celebrate the fact that Moose retained the belt. The lights went out again, and then we heard this. We all know who made that laugh, and that is none other broken Matt Hardy reappeared out of nowhere, and now he's making a play for the TNA World title. And of course, the system, once again, claiming, just like Nick Meneth, Matt Hardy will fall. But the real question I ask, is Matt Hardy all alone, or did he brought some backup? Because there was a clip of 4 figures. I'm going to presume that one of them must be his. But who are the other 3? I wouldn't be surprised if his brother even shows up. What do you guys think? You tell me. So, I think that's pretty much it what we have for TNA. But I also want to put on record, we did have a brand new digital media champion. Laredo Kid defeated Crazy Steve. And of course, Spitfire, Jody Threat, and Danny Luna retained the Knockouts title against Decay. But however, Masha Slamovich has cashed in her rematch clause, and this time she teams up with Alicia Edwards in hopes that maybe the system gets a championship in their midst. Well, we will see. I don't know. It was very interesting that Masha reached out to Alicia. But the question they did ask is, Masha be a member of system? If they say they have no intention of that, I would say that they're screwed. But we'll see. But let's move on to our last review, and that is, of course, AEW Dynasty. Okay, AEW Dynasty. Now, I did not do the pre-show in the Rebellion review, but however, I decided I'm going to do this one. It opened up with Matt Sydal versus Trent Beretta. Now, remember what happened. Matt Sydal, along with Christopher Daniels, attempting to save Orange Cassidy from Shane Taylor Promotions, but they were prevented by none other than, of course, Trent Beretta. Now, you would think that this is a revenge for that assault. Well, it kind of did. Now, you would think that Trent, we don't know what's the motive behind why he did what he did and all this, but he was able to pick up the win against Matt Sydal. And as soon as it was over, Matt Sydal's brother, Mike, tried to intervene and calm him down. But however, Trent Beretta continued to attack. Then, of course, here comes Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor, on the other hand, who stopped him from that, and then, of course, tells him, like, what is his problem? He's like saying that he's been calling him for weeks, trying to get him, that he needs to pick a side. Will it be him or Orange Cassidy? And, of course, Orange Cassidy, along with Shibata, showed up. Now, the obvious question is, why does Chuck Taylor will side with Trent, or will he just stand on his own? It appears that Chuck has no interest in siding with either men. So basically, he seems like he is neutral about it, but we will see what happens as we go. Now, of course, Orange and Katsuyori Shibata will have revenge time against Shane Taylor Promotions, Lee Moriarty and Shane Taylor, and of course that moron Anthony Ogogo, who was in the commentary booth, gloating and glabbing about what they did to both Shibata and Orange Cassidy. But of course, he was going to get involved like any other match, but it didn't do any good for him because Orange Cassidy and Shibata did everything what they were supposed to do. But however, it was Lee Moriarty who ended up being orange punched, and just like that, it was completely over. Now, our last match of the 0 hour, we do have, of course, the trios titles of winner takes all, the ROH World 6-Man Tag Team titles, and the AEW World Trios titles. So it's more like who is the dominant trios team. So it was, of course, Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang, versus the Acclaim and Daddy Ass. Of course, there were going to be some interesting cohesions from both sides, but unfortunately, it was, of course, the Blade Runner by Jay White who picked up the win onto Daddy Ass and obtaining both belts. So that's going to be interesting now that these guys are now the most dominant trios. Somewhere down the line, someone's going to have to challenge for one of these or probably both. But we will see where that leads us from here on out. Now, our next match, we have let's start with, now we're entering with the main card of the matches. The AEW Continental Championship, we have the Bastard Pac versus Kazuchika Okada. Match was pretty good. I have to say it was a very good match to start it up because, Okada, we know what he's capable of. We know his reputation. Pac, well, he's a much dangerous individual. He was about to apply the broken arrow, but nothing worked twice. I mean, he tried that twice. First one, it was a miss. Second one was a counter. But however, it was Okada with the Rainmaker that sealed the deal, allowing for Okada to retain the belt. However, Pac received a standing ovation. Even though he did not lose, he feels disappointed that he did not win the title that he wanted. But one way or the other, he will have to make another conversation to get back into that. But we'll see. Now, our next match, we have a trios match. We have the House of Black, Buddy Matthews, Brody King, Malachi Black taking on Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe, and Adam Copeland. Now, of course, this is going to cause a lot of mayhem in this type of match. Now, we do know that the House of Black have more cohesion than Kingston, than Copeland, and Briscoe. But however, that you cannot deny that Briscoe, Copeland, and Kingston are the toughest SOBs on the planet. Now, when we thought this match was almost over for Adam Copeland, Malachi Black missed, of course, Copeland, then he gave him the end, and just like that, he picked up the win. However, there are those who were talking about this in social media. Since Malachi Black was able to pin Copeland, does that mean that he will get a shot of the TNT title? That could most likely happen. If I was a betting man, I would say this will happen possibly at Double or Nothing. But we will see what happens until then. Now, speaking of the House of Black, as you know, Julia Hart, the princess of the Black, or of the House, or whatever, takes on Willow Nightingale for the TBS title. Now, of course, Willow has been gunning for this belt for quite some time. Now, it's no secret about her relationship towards Julia Hart and all this. But however, can she withstand Julia Hart? Now, we know that she would have done everything. But one thing that was impressive on this match, Julia applied the Heartless onto her, but it did not do any good. You saw the strength and power of Will Nightingale resisting it no matter what. But that was not the case. It was, of course, Will Nightingale with the Dr. Bomb that put away Julia Hart, allowing her to become our brand new TBS champion. And then, of course, you heard Stokely Hathaway acting like a kid. We're going to Chuck E. Cheese. I mean, what is he, 6? But nonetheless, it's a great way to party. And, of course, Chris Statlander showed up to celebrate with everybody. Everybody got hugs, of course. She got hugs from not only from Chris, but from Stokely. But, however, now the battlefield has been set. We saw Mercedes Moné making her way. Now we know who Mercedes Moné will face for the TBS title at Double or Nothing. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. Now, let's move on with our next match, and this is another title match. This is for the AEW International Championship. Kyle O'Reilly versus, of course, Roderick Strong. Now, Strong was not too pleased and keen with the idea that O'Reilly made a play for the international title. So basically, that would have been as simple as that. Apparently, he wanted this belt. He didn't care about how things were going to end. He thought that maybe their friendship would last, but Roderick Strong thought, nope, you crossed the line with me on this. So you would have thought that O'Reilly would have had an opportunity, but however, Roderick Strong was trying to take out every inch of Kyle O'Reilly's body, the same method that he used against Orange Cassidy that allowed him to gain this belt. Even Wardlow got involved, but he couldn't get involved. But it was the end of Heartache that allowed for Roderick Strong to pick up the win. But as soon as the match was over, we did see the other members of the Undisputed Kingdom, more specifically Bennett and Taven, and then we saw Michael Cole got out of the wheelchair. It looks more like that he is out of it, but we will see what happens next. I wouldn't be surprised if Adam Cole makes a play for the AEW World title. So that is possibly, most likely, could happen. Now, our next match, this is for the FTW title, the FTW rules match, Chris Jericho versus Hook. You saw a lot of weapons were used, baseball bats and all this. But one thing that I liked about the story is, of course, Jericho. How do I say this? It took two Judas Effects to try to take out, of course, Hook, but he kicked out of both of them. You would think, even Taz probably would be proud of his boy, you know? I would have been in Taz's shoes, being happy for his son. But however, Jericho put out his hand at his bat, but he told Hook to stay down. But Hook gave him the bird and whacked him in the head, and 1, 2, 3, a brand new FTW championship. Fans were not happy. Even people were saying this on social media, which is understandable. But Taz, who was doing the commentary booth, concerned for his son's health, he decided to check up on him. He told Jericho to leave, but Jericho was concerned about how things ended. Now, I understand that Taz does not want Jericho near him, and Jericho should just respect a father's concern to his son. Even though Taz has often said that he doesn't need to worry too much of his son, but this is one of those times where, as a father, he has to be concerned for his son. But the real question is, where do we go from here now as Jericho as the FTW champion? Well, we will see. Now, our next match, we have the AEW Women's Championship. Thunder Rosa, who has never lost this belt due to the fact of her injury, faces Timeless Toni Storm. So, of course, this is what's going to be a match, but what's different is, of course, Toni Storm got her face paint, however, not Thunder Rosa, so it was reverse psychology. She was trying to piss her off, but it did not do any well for her. But, however, the match was insane with counters, suplexes, and all that. Even Mariah May tried to get involved, but Deonna Purrazzo took care of her, and, of course, that moron of a butler, Luther, tried to get involved, but he got thrown through the steps. And, of course, Deonna Purrazzo cleaned up the mess, taking out Mariah May, in hopes that Thunder Rosa will have the opportunity to take her out. However, referee did not see this. Toni Storm low-blowed Mariah May, low-blowed Thunder Rosa, and then the Storm Zero, allowing her to retain the belt. But sooner or later, Toni Storm may have to lose the belt. But the real question is, who's going to do that? Well, we will see. Now, our next match, this is the match where people will determine who is the best wrestler in the world. Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay. I have to say, this was one of the most insane matches I've ever watched. I mean, a lot of high flying, a lot of submissions, striking, all of it. You can see that Will Ospreay pulled out every arsenal he has in his disposal, to put him away, and nothing worked. Same thing with Bryan Danielson. Nothing worked. I mean, they did everything to punish each other's bodies to its limit. But however, Will Ospreay applied a Tiger Driver 91, but something went wrong in this match. Bryce Rinsberg, who was the referee of the match, noticed the reaction of Bryan Danielson. He tried to get the Doc Samson, who was in ringside, that there was something wrong, but apparently, much like what we saw with Saya Kamitani back in 2022 with Mina Shirakawa, was not paying attention what happened. So he ended the match with the hidden blade. Of course, this match ended on that with Will Ospreay winning. But however, the concern was Bryan Danielson, who was hurt. So this was something that I think Will did not see. Even Don Callis was concerned over the fact that this set's done so much harm, that the Tiger Driver might have caused a problem. So later in the, of course, media scrum, Will Ospreay revealed that he is no longer, because of what just transpired with Bryan Danielson in this match, he's going to retire the Tiger Driver 91. So it's very smart of him out of his part to do that, because, of course, I mean, you don't want to cause more injuries with a move that you know is capable of. I mean, that's one of the things that we saw. I mean, we did see Kamitani 2 years ago. She refused to do this Phoenix Splash because out of fear of what happened with Mina. But, yeah. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match, this is, I believe, for the AEW World Tag Team Titles Tournament and a ladder match between two of the best tag teams. But, however, this will determine who will be the first ever three-time AEW Tag Team Champions. Will it be the EVPs, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick, or will it be FTR? Now, you know that ladders are very, very predictable. They would cause damage. I mean, we did see Dax Harwood busted open. However, when everything was going crazy, we did see Dax Harwood. He was, in fact, so close in getting the belts. A guy in a hood with a Sting mask showed up. Security showed up. And it turned out to be the scapegoat himself. Jack Perry made his return. Now, many people anticipated this was going to happen. It looks like it was right. And of course, however, of course, this match ended with Nick pulling the belt, winning and becoming the first ever three-time AEW World Tag Team Champions. And then, of course, they did see there was a moment we did see, if you guys were able to clear, Jack Perry did this, which means the Elite. So basically, is it possible that Nick and Matt will sign Jack Perry as part of the organization? We just have to wait and see until we get to Wednesday. Now, our next match, we have the AEW World Title. Swerve Strickland versus Samoa Joe. Now, before Samoa Joe has ever won this belt, Swerve has been trying to make it to the top by using Adam Hangman Page to get to that, to be in a conversation against a former champion in order to do so. And of course, he tried to get involved in this match, but there were many complicated distractions that got along the way. Hangman and Page was one of them. The triple threat match where Samoa Joe presumably believed that Swerve Strickland had no business since he was not lost in this match, but somehow ended up in a title conversation. So basically, Swerve Strickland has been determined to do what he feels is his time now. Samoa Joe, who spent the entire time proving once and for all that Swerve is not that man at all. But you know that they were going to will not hold back, put all the stops any way possible. But it only took two Swerve stops for Swerve to put away Joe. The first one failed, but the real question did tell at the end. Did Joe had enough to withstand another? Well, the question to that is no. 1, 2, 3, it was completely over, and Swerve is your brand new AEW World Champion. Now, those who thought in this match we were going to have interference from Hangman Page. So, we haven't seen him since the Elite decided to suspend him. But only time will tell us what happens then. I wouldn't be surprised if Hangman Page decides to come back and challenge Swerve at Double or Nothing. But we will see until that day happens. But the real question is, now that he is the AEW World Champion, he has Target on his back. And I know one person would definitely want that belt. It's no secret to me. That would be Adam Cole. So, we'll see who will be the lucky recipient to be the one to try to dethrone Swerve Strickland, but we will see. But as of right now, I think we are done with all our reviews, so I believe it's time to move on with our last and final thing, and that is, of course, news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So, let's begin with updates with the promotions on our upcoming events. We have two of them. Now, we do have the collaboration between West Coast Pro and Oasis Pro for the Dennis Richmond Invitational. They just announced their very first entrant, and that entrant is Jaguar Montoya. Now, I have seen Jaguar Montoya on West Coast Pro on 2 occasions. I have to say it's very interesting that he will be in, and we will see who else will be part of that invitational as we go. Now, Wrestling Open has announced for this Thursday event on April 25th, Max Caster will be making his appearance, so I'm looking forward to that. Now, for our developments, as you know, with the launch of Rossi's new promotion, MARIGOLD, there's been a joint practice at the LLPWX dojo in Tokyo. They've been reporting that former at-risk girls have been participating in the practice. Julia has been teaching techniques that she learned from her former mentor, Hideki Suzuki. Now, those who don't know, Julia has been involved in training development of the next generation while she was still in Stardom. If you guys remember, she was out during injury that led to that. She actually helped train those wrestlers, so yeah, it's no secret about that. Now, as you may or may not have heard, Tsukasa Fujimoto, the ace of Ice Ribbon, made her return in Seedling, teaming up with her best friend Arisa Nakajima and Suri. It was foretold that in August, Ice Ribbon will be taking a hiatus because they will be, in fact, be participating in tournaments. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But it was foretold that Fujimoto will be limited. So that's kind of interesting to hear. Now, recently, as you all know, Miya Yotsuba, along with her sister, Nonaka Seto, have been absent from Got to Move / Choco Pro. Now, the reasons of their absence was because, of course, their father just passed away. My condolences go out to both sisters over the loss of their father. But however, Miya Yotsuba took time to go on social media and try to explain things to her fans and everything, and give a little detail about her personal life with her father mostly. So this is what she had to post it out. We apologize for the concern and inconvenience caused by the sudden absence. The reason for the absence was due to the passing of Miya Yotsuba and Seto, Nonaka Seto's father. It was really, really sudden. He was fine until the day before and was living a normal life. But the next morning, my father never woke up. He was my favorite, respectful, proud father. He was a great cook, and I love tacos because my father used to make them for me. Tacos were my father's flavor. After he retired from his job, he started a taco shop, which was his dream, and he seems very, very happy about it, and I think he had many things he wanted to do in future. Sounds like my kind of guy. I love tacos too. Keep moving on. My father was the kind of person who would always say, just try it. Without denying it was I was going to do. He supported me when I wanted to become a pro wrestler, even after I became one. When I returned to my hometown, I heard from many people that my father enjoyed talking about us daughters a lot, and I was really happy. But at the same time, I felt sad. My father always watched Choco Pro on YouTube, but he had never been to Ichigaya yet. He was scheduled to come to the August Corkin Hall match for the first time and at the Got to Move match. My father, along with my mother, would ask, "Whose support towel do you want to carry, Mia's or Nonaka's?" And they would talk about it. I wanted my father to see the match in person. I wanted to see my mother and father holding up towels at a glance. It was a sudden goodbye, and to be honest, I really don't feel it. I find myself repeatedly thinking that my father would come home and say, "I'm home." I have received warm words and the rest of the Got to Move, despite of the suddenness of the situation. Thank you very much. Thanks to you, I was able to see my father off well, and I was able to talk to a lot about my father, with my mother and relatives and local people. I would also like to thank all the fans who warmly watched me over despite the sudden announcement of my absence. Thank you very much. I have made me feel uneasy just before ring competition. I am sorry for the selfishly prayed that I would not hinder from you all enjoying the Got to Move shows. this is my request to you, but I hope that I will make sure to see, talk, and call and send messages to your dear family and friends. Even if I have to push yourselves a little bit, I just, if you're wondering where you want to go, do you want to do, I hope you will do it. I also want to go to the hospital immediately to think that something was wrong, even if something is trivial. I wish that all little regrets as much fun as possible. Myself and Nonaka will live for my father and will like to be able to show him that I am happy and having fun. We plan to return to work on April 28th. Please forgive me to talk a little more time. I will do the best to return towards the Cork and Hall match, which my father has been looking forward to it together with the members of Got to Move, everyone else. Please continue to support Miya Yotsuba and Nonaka Seto. So yeah, I mean, it is sad. I mean, you know, when you have a relative, either a parent, your father or mother, you talk to them one day and then following day they're gone. I mean, it's sad, but it just happens, guys. And I totally understand what they're going for, and it's sad that their dad will not be there to support his daughters, despite that he's been watching all of their shows. And I am saddened for them, but my prayers and thoughts go to her, to them, to both Noka and Miya. So I hope they do come back and they do become stronger and continue what their father has taught them, to just keep going. Don't stop doing what you're doing. I think that's a message that they should learn from it. So yeah. Now, moving on. As you know, Afa Anou'i Jr., who used to be known as Manu back in WWE, he announces on his very own promotion, Battlefield Pro Wrestling, that the promotion that his father owned, WXW, he now be running it himself, and they will have cable television in Pennsylvania. So basically, he's going to be a very busy man as we speak. Now, PWInsider has confirmed, as you know, recently we saw the releases of several WWE talent. They just confirmed saying that no further layoffs will happen at this time. So let's just cross our fingers, folks. Now, Luke Gallows has recently talked on his Talkin' Shop podcast, revealing that wrestlers in WWE no longer will be calling themselves sports entertainers. Now they can just call themselves wrestlers. So this is a good thing for everybody in WWE because, I mean, we all say they're wrestlers, but they were treating them like they're sports entertainers. So yeah. Now, Miku Aono, as you know recently, who is one of the 6 wrestlers who left At-Risk Girls to join Rossi's promotion, MARIGOLD, has told Tokyo Sports on the reasons why she left. This is what she said. I came here because I wanted to change my life. Now, we know that Fuka mentioned that many of the wrestlers were not happy with the direction that At-Risk Girls were at, and it would make sense. I mean, they were not being the pro wrestlers that they wanted to be, but now this has changed. So we'll see where that leads us from now. Now, Kenny Omega, as you know, who's been very active on his Twitch page, has talked that he is now a fan of the Uganda promotion, Soft Ground Wrestling, and he's loving it. He even said you can feel the heart of the athletes. So he's paying attention what goes on in the world, and I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to make a trip to Uganda. So we'll see what happens. Reports are surfacing about Jeff Hardy. As you know, we just recently saw his brother Matt made an appearance in TNA. Reports are saying that his contract status with AEW is almost expiring. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to join his brother in TNA. So we'll see about that. Now, finally, PPP Tokyo had a recent press conference. They just assigned a brand new talent. But here's the interesting part about this talent. Her name, it was Kana with 2 N's. Kanna. It was foretold that she is one of the 3 original 3 in Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling. That's right, the original 3 who actually left the promotion not too long, about a few years back in hold on. That information is right here. Yeah, so she left the promotion, but she will make her re-debut on May 27th on the on that show. Oh yeah, it says here she graduated from Tokyo Pro Wrestling back in 2016, and now she's re-debuting back as a wrestler. But however, she has changed her name to Drog K. Now, Drog came from a how do I say, a show that she watched. Is something, I don't remember what it was. Oh yeah, it's called the Clock Orange. That's where she got it. As for K is for the Kanan, so that's the whole thing. Many of you asked, probably say, why did she in fact left? You know, she was trying to was dealing some problems, that sort of thing. But now that she's back and she'll be making her debut soon, she will be teaming with Marika Kobashi, who is in fact a graduate of Tokyo Pro Wrestling. They will be facing Ryo Mizunami and of course Nagisa Nozaki. So I'm looking forward to that event once it comes out. So I can't wait to see what she can do in the ring. I never seen her before, but I'm rather curious. So I think that's pretty much it now, what we have. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we will be covering a lot of wrestling as we go. There's still some I haven't seen yet. Now, All Japan Pro Wrestling has begun for their annual tournament, Champion Carnival. We're jumping in with day 3. I'm behind on that. I'm trying to do the best I can to catch up with it. And also the same thing with the Collective and other GCW events and others. So it's going to take me a while because, you know, we had a big WrestleMania week. So as of right now, I'm going to wing it and see how this will go. So hope you guys enjoy the next episode, but I hope you guys enjoyed this one. But as of right now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.